Good morning and welcome to Quest Television and Quest 93.1 FM. It is the 26th day in the month of June in the year 2023. A lovely Monday morning here in the studios, and well, another Monday morning for us to look into the papers and see what the headlines have for us. My name is Urikemi Mariam and welcome to the paper review on Quest today. Making a return back to the studio this morning are 5 newspapers. We have The Guardian, The Nation, The Nigerian Tribune, we have The Punch and The Daily Sun as well. And you know, it is the beginning of a new week. With me this morning in the studio is Comrade Efe Odomo, our admirable Quest analyst, and well, you can fill in the gap. Good morning and welcome to the show, sir.
Oh yeah, beautiful morning to you.
Beautiful morning it
is.
is.
To pronounce my name correctly and fully today.
Well, Comrade, without much being said, let's head straight into the papers and see what the headlines have. The first paper for review this morning is the Nigerian Tribune. And on the Nigerian Tribune, the major headline reads, Nigeria's public debt rises to 49 trillion naira. It's a big story you can read on page 6 of the Nigerian Tribune. I think it's making a round on all the dailies as well this morning. But like I said, read that story on page 6 of the Nigerian Tribune. Moving away from that and above the masthead, we have over 127,000 Nigerian students in UK higher institutions, says the British High Commissioner. That story you can continue on page 2. Moving away from that, we have fluctuations in airfares traced to federal government unification of dollar markets. The writer there says IATA has no power to peg naira to dollar, says the NANTA president. But do want to continue the story on page 3. Moving down below, we have tributes as a renowned mass communication professor Lai Osho dies in car crash. Wow, a sad one indeed. May his soul rest in peace. But do want to read that story on page 21 and continue on page 26 of the Nigerian Tribune. Kano Court restrains Governor Yusuf from demolishing buildings, is making it to page 30. And on page 7, it says that Nigeria's maritime industry loses $100 billion annually to over non-implementation of Cabotage Act. Do also read that story on page 7, as I stated earlier. Increasing suspense over Tinubu's ministerial nominations is making it to page 22. But still on subsidy removal, it says Nigerians must reduce wastage, invest more and be innovative, says experts. The writer there says survival becoming more difficult for us, says private school owners. And that story you can read on page 2. Well, for sake of time, that's much we can take on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune. The next paper for review is The Punch. And on the Punch newspaper this morning, the major headline reads, Naira devaluation pushes up vehicle duties by 40%. The writer there says custom raised exchange rate from 422 naira per dollar to 589 naira per dollar. Operators kick as import duties jump. Also, we have economists berate federal government, says policy will cause job loss, impoverish Nigerians and worsen hardship. Do what read all of this on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. Moving above the masthead, we have debt servicing rose to 1.24 trillion naira in first quarter of 2023 is a report that you can read on page 14. Discos failed to remit over 208 billion naira, says federal government. Is making it to page 30. And also on page 4 and 5 of the Punch, it says Lagos Ibadan gridlock traps motorists for hours. Like I said, you can read all of that on page 4 and 5. 452,443 UTME candidates jostle for 78,558 medicine spaces. I wonder how they're going to fit everybody into that. But you can read that story on page 8. On page 4 of the Punch, it says masked gunmen kidnap Ogun businesswoman and villagers rescue farmer. And you can see the picture of the businesswoman that has been kidnapped. But like I said, you can read that story on page 4. And also we have cleric warns Muslim not to borrow for Salah Rams, is making it to page 12. I remember not too long ago, I believe last week, we read on one of the dailies that Ram now sold for 700,000 naira. Yes, and 400,000 naira respectively.
And that can be palliative.
And I was wondering if the Rams drink 4, because that was stated under petrol subsidy removal. But do also read that story on page 12 as I stated earlier. And well, for the sake of time, that's much you can take on the front page of the Punch. The next paper for review is The Guardian. And on the Guardian this morning, the major headline reads 40% hike in vehicle duties worsens transport crisis and poverty, is one you can read on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper this morning. Moving away from that, we have UK awaits Tinubu's cabinet and ready for stronger ties with Nigeria, is making it to page 6. On page 4, we have media professionals mourn and eulogize departed Lasso Don Osho. You can read that story on page 4. 6 Nigerian pilgrims dead and 8 others ill as 2023 Hajj rites begin, is making it to page 3 of the Guardian this morning. Community pharmacists decry 15% vaccination rate, is one you can read on page 4. And also Nigeria loses $50 billion yearly to foreign domination and non-implementation of Cabotage Act, is making it to page 3 of the Guardian. And what that's much you can take on the front page of the Guardian. The next paper for review is the Nation newspaper. And on the Nation newspaper, the major headline reads, why discos are bent on electricity tariff increase. The writer there says from the AEDC, fluctuations of Naira exchange makes upward review inevitable. Do also read the story on the front page and continue on page 4. Moving down below, we have Dogara and Oshoba back petrol subsidy removal and service chiefs, is making it to the front page of the Nation newspaper. Well, you can continue that story on page 4 of the Nation. Moving above the masthead, we have Envoy. Population of Nigerian students in UK rose by 107,000 in 3 years. You can read that on page 5. And also, largest ever pilgrimage begins in Saudi Arabia, as one you can read on page 3 of the Nation. Experts optimistic despite foreign reserve drop to $34 billion, is making it to the front page of the Nation. You can continue that story on page 5. And also, eminent Nigerians mourn mass communication professor Lai Osho. It seems to be it's making a round on all the dailies this morning, but you can read that story on page 2 of the Nation. Flood sweeps newlywed man in Ondo, is making it to page 7. Wow, comrade, I can see your reaction to that.
Very funny.
Yeah, but well, it sweeps him away. I don't think that's a funny one, comrade. Well, you can get all of that on page 7. Gunmen abduct 9 passengers, is also making it to page 5 of the Nation newspaper. And well, that's much you can take on the front page of the Nation. The final paper for review this morning is the Daily Sun. And on the Daily Sun, the major headline reads, ISWAP and Boko Haram in supremacy battle. The writer there says scores killed as groups fight for territory and control of Lake Chad and Borno, is making it to page 5. At this point, comrade, I can see your reaction. At this point, we believe that security issues should have been tackled, but well, that is not the case right now. But do well to read that story on page 5, as I stated earlier. Moving away from that, we have Kanu's release central to peace in Southeast, says Ohaneze, is one you can read on page 27 of the Daily Sun. But moving away from that, we have KYC, bank customers and experts oppose CBN's directive on social media handle. Wow, that's quite an interesting one as well. But you can read all of that on page 25. On Salah, it says Muslim faithful lament ram and foodstuff price hike, is making it to page 6. And from JAM, it says 482,356 candidates jostle for 78,578 admission spaces in medicine and pharmacy. You can read that story on page 29. On page 25 of the Daily Sun, it says Aviation Union writes Tinubu and warns of industry's collapse. The writer there says bemoan 40% IGR deduction from NCAA and others. And moving away from that to Kogi Guber, it says ACF chairman worries over rising violence. You can read all of that on page 28. IGP to meet mobile commanders and promises improved security, is making it to page 5. And well, that's what we can take on the front page of the Daily Sun. At this point, we've taken all the headlines on the front page of what the dailies I mentioned earlier, which is the Guardian, the Nation, the Daily Sun, the Punch newspaper, and the Nigerian Tribune. At this point, I'll open the phone line so you could have your say on the show. But remember to stick to the headlines of the dailies I mentioned earlier. The numbers to call are on your screen, but for those on radio, the numbers are 08022 931 and 08188888931. Calling to the show, state your name, your location, and have your say, but please step away from your TV or radio set to avoid connection interruptions. With that being said, let's see if we have our first caller. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. Well, while we wait for those calls to come in, do not forget you could drop your messages on our social media platforms. I'm talking about Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Quest Live Online. Be sure to see your messages and do not forget to follow and like as well. With that being said, comrade, let's come over to you while we wait for those calls to come in. Well, there are lots of major headlines on the front pages of all the days this morning, but let's start with a lighter one. The situation is not necessarily light, but it is on the front page of the Daily Sun. Let's start with that. So talking about Salah, as it says, Muslim faithfuls lament ram and foodstuff price hike. What's your take to this?
They are just looking at this as their own opportunity to make their own money. Because I don't think that celebrating the savior of a sect, when I use the word sect, because that's a Muslim religion, if they want to celebrate their faith and you are making it unbearable for people, you are making it almost impossible for people to participate in the celebration. So actually, what are you trying to achieve? You know, we should stop practicing this system of Shylockism everywhere. We want to use every opportunity to amass wealth for ourselves. It does not speak well at all. When you say a ram goes for between 700 to 750, how do you expect normal Nigerians to celebrate that festival? They are making it out of the rich of the poor. Unless, of course, they want to tell us that there will be palliative measures from somewhere. Maybe somebody somewhere will just stand up and say, distribute 1,000 rams to the people. You see, it's not everything actually we should look for to make money. It's supposed to be a time where they share love, where they share unity among themselves. They are supposed to have brought these prices down for everybody to participate and make sure that their prayers have been answered, but not making some people or trying to segregate from between the poor and the rich, because that's exactly what they are trying to do.
Okay, well, moving away from that, it's still on the front page of the Daily Sun newspaper. It says Kanu's release central to peace in Southeast, says Ohaneze. This matter has been on the table for a very long time.
Good morning.
Oh, it seems as though we have a caller, comrade. Please hold that.
Yeah, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Your name and your location, please.
Speak on the
Your name and your location, please. Hello, can you hear me? Hello? Well, we seem to have lost that caller, but do well. When you call into the show, state your name and your location and then have your say. With that being said, let's see if we have another caller. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Welcome to the show. Your name and your location, please.
I am George Piderupa from Ughelli.
All right, welcome to the show. Please have your say.
Yes. Tinubu, if I were in the issue of Mr. President Tinubu, before I remove fuel subsidy, I would have put the refineries in place. But now, removing our subsidy has brought hardship to Nigeria. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, but I don't think there's any part in the newspapers where we mentioned that. But you have made your point. But like I said, please stick to the headlines on the front page of the dailies so we don't have any confusions amongst ourselves. Let's take more calls. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, madam.
Good morning, Oga. Welcome to the show. Your name and your location, please.
I am Fidelis calling from Ozora.
All right, Mr. Fidelis, welcome to the show. Please have your say.
The guy has said Tinubu should bring all the cabas to book. The system was in existence before Dogara was the Speaker of House of Reps. Himself, is he not aware of the cabal?
Please, what newspaper is this? Hello? Hello? We seem to have lost that one. I don't recall reading any such headlines in any of the dailies I mentioned
good morning.
earlier. Hello, good morning.
Evangelist Christopher on the line.
Evangelist Christopher, welcome. Yeah. Please have your say.
Yeah, thank you. I want to say that I think it's becoming clearer in the eyes of every Nigerian that the policies are not in the interest of the country. Because we see that the lives of the average Nigerians is getting worse every day. From May 29th now, it's getting worse every day. We understood that Buhari told us that Nigeria are going to miss him. And we are seeing that Nigerians are really missing him right now. Because right now people cannot even get basic necessities because of these policies. How can you bring policies like this? No palliative, no grant, nothing. They are using our commonwealth to take care of themselves. All right? And the people are in extreme poverty. Nigeria is becoming the poverty capital of the universe under this present administration. So people should wake up from their sleep and from their slumber. This government.
Thank you very much, Evangelist Christopher. But we do not encourage any sort of, do I say crisis or hate speech? Yes, because that was where, you're inciting violence, and I might be forced not to take your calls anymore. But at this point, let's take this one call before we move over to Comrade. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Hello, good morning. Your name, your location, please. We can't really hear you. I'm not sure if it's the network or the volume. Hello? Nah, I think it's the network. Please do well. You can call back afterwards. But at this point, let's move over to Comrade. A lot is happening right now. But we were talking about something else.
Carlos release.
Yes. What's your take to that?
The release is overdue, actually. Okay. I think it was a power of a supremacy between him and the former president that led to this brouhaha.
Okay.
And now that the man is out of office, if there is a political offense, which is different from a criminal offense, if it's a political issue, the next administration should have gone ahead to hasten his release, or maybe they will be waiting for something. If you remember the time of Obasanjo, Abacha, and Abacha, when Obasanjo was incarcerated,
yes.
When the next administration came in, he was released because he said it was a political conviction. So if that is the case, they can also apply the same hammer in this scenario. But I should think too that they should be more pragmatic in the way they go about it, so that it doesn't cause any misunderstanding between both parties. If the Ohanese people put their act together, they can lead a very peaceful delegation to Mr. President and tell Mr. President their pains, and I think he will listen to them.
Okay, let's still stay on the headlines on the front page of the dailies this morning. On the front page of the Punch, quite an interesting one there. It says Naira devaluation pushes up vehicles duties by 40%. It's making a round on all the dailies. Same thing on the Guardian, say 40% hike in vehicle duties worsens transport crisis and poverty. But what's getting my attention here is custom raises exchange rate from 422 naira per dollar to 589 naira per dollar, and operators kick as import duties jump. What's your take?
They cannot kick, because evidently when you devalue your naira, you are giving more power to the products you are buying. And when the products are not when the products are done, there is no money to buy. Then it becomes the survival of the fittest. You have to also raise your own price of pushing these goods out, because what the naira could buy for 20 naira is no longer so. It is now going for about 40-50 naira. And how do you not keep your excise duties stagnant? It's not possible. Somebody once said, if you want to do business and succeed in Nigeria, go into private practice. Because if the government increases prices, you too should also increase your own. It also applies to the public sector. So if they want to devalue the naira, they should also take care of the associated increase that will follow. It's not a stagnant economy. It's a rolling economy. And that is why you see all these people increasing their... Don't also forget that they have a target to meet. That is the custom, all these revenue collecting agents on behalf of the federal government.
Yes.
They have a budget to meet. And if they don't meet that, which means they are failed, and the only way to meet it up is to also show up their own rates of collection. And that is exactly what they are doing. They have not done anything against or that is inimical to the law. It is normal. When you devalue the naira, prices must go up to meet up that difference between the income and the expenditure.
Okay. Well, quickly before we run out of time on this segment, let's talk about the UTME, because it's making a round on the daily. It says 400. Comrade, you reacted to that. That's the reason why I'm asking you this. It says 452,443 UTME candidates jostle for just 78,578 medicine spaces, medicine and pharmacy.
Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
My name is Sunday from Mugeli.
All right, Mr. Sunday, please have your say.
Yeah, Sunday. I think I want to ask a question. The way Nigerian presidents are traveling from one place to another, is it how other country presidents are also traveling to this country?
Thank you very much for your call. But yeah, that was the last call for the show today. But Comrade,
quickly, like what he said, every country has its own policy, and every country wants to build up their own international relationship. So it depends on the countries they are talking about. We are still developing, we are struggling. We don't even know whether we are struggling or anywhere. All we know that we are in existence. So Mr. President can travel as many as possible times he can. Yeah. Don't forget, Shagari also did the same thing. But I thought we'll have improved from that stage now that we have so many years in between that we're supposed to have developed. But back to the issue
yes.
Well,
the available spaces
yes,
in pharmacy and medicine compared to the number of students.
The problem actually, we say that we have a shortage in number of universities we have. If this one is to be, if the ratio is about almost 1 to 4, if not, if I should be correct, it's about almost 1 to 4 or 1 to 5. No, not even, it's about 1 to 7. For it's something to 70, it's about 1 to 7. Maybe what they will have to do is to push the balance of the rest of the people into the private universities, because I don't think the private universities are captured in this UTME. So if you are talking of 70,000 spaces, and people say
453,000 plus.
Adjustment for those ones. Another thing UAT could do is to raise the cutoff mark. If you do that, then many people will follow that line. But it does not augur well, because you still have so many brilliant people that are supposed to have made that cut, which because of the high standard, they could not be able to make it. And moreover too, don't forget out of that 70,000, there is an exclusive list. What I mean by exclusive list? The president will bring his list. The governor will bring his list. The senator, the reps, the House of Assembly, the governors will all bring their list. So half of that list is also gone. So we are only talking of about 35,000 people fighting for 400,000.
Oh well, comrade, you have said a lot, but
that is why you must struggle to be a governor's wife.
Comrade, one day, maybe hopefully one day. Well, with that being said, we've come to the end of this segment. I can log off without thanking you for being on air with me, and I do look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
I can't also go out of this place without telling you thank you for always bringing me here.
Okay. I think you'll be thanking Quest for that. But yes, thank you very much, our dear viewers and listeners, for making the quick paper review on Quest today your morning tea. Have a productive Monday.